Code Mixing and Early Bilingualism. Introduction. In the coming modules, we are going to study code mixing in early bilinguals. There is a tendency among the researchers that when they talk about early bilingualism, they use the word code mixing rather than code switching, which is considered as more complicated. That is, when we are talking about code switching, that would mean adult code switching, and when we are talking about code mixing, then we refer to child bilinguals. Now, there are certain questions which more or less have remained constant, and they have interested several researchers to explore them in depth. Now, let me sort of prepare you that the discussions that are coming up relate more to bilinguality, that is, related to the learning of two languages in children, rather than to this wider form of bilingualism in the society. However, over here we are using these terms interchangeably. So we are more interested in psycholinguistics, although we will not go into the details of psycholinguistics as such. So what are the main questions that the researchers have been interested in? Number one, what is the nature of language that exists in the minds of the bilinguals? What is the nature of the grammar according to which the bilingual children formulate their sentences? And then, if we say these are two different grammars that they work with, the question comes that how do they actually coexist in the minds of the children? Then there is also the question of acquisition of the grammars, that is, learning of the two grammars. How did the children actually learn two different grammars? Was it simultaneous? That is, when you spoke to the child in English, Urdu or Punjabi and Sindhi or whatever regional language in your homes, does the child actually learn all the different grammars simultaneously, that is, at the same time? Or does the child actually learn the grammar or the control over the grammar of one language before he or she moves on to the learning of the grammar of the other language? Then, how is language acquisition, that is, learning of a language, similar or different from unilinguals? Remember, in bilingual states, in multilingual contexts, this question specifically is very, very important. Then there is this question of how is the knowledge of the two languages actually utilized by the children? How come that they decide to code mix? When do they code mix? What triggers code mixing? So we want to understand this whole complexity of switching or mixing one language with the other. And then, of course, there is this mega question, which is bilingualism or bilinguality, when a child uses two languages, does he or she operate from one language system or two language system? Mostly in our modules, we'll be contesting the both of these hypothesis, whether it is a single language system or does the child operate from two different or distinct language systems. There are two ways in which this question is answered. That is, there are two perspectives from these questions have been dealt with. One is grammar of code switching, and the other one is the linguistic dimension of code switching. We will touch upon grammar of code switching, and then we will move on for more detail into linguistic dimension of code switching, and this linguistic dimension is the one which we will try to cover more comprehensively in this course.